In the month of November, I had the absolute wonderful privilege of training Miss Taylor Woods all the way over on the West Coast from the East Coast. In this video, I'm gonna break down that process and I'm gonna give you some tips whether you are a client or a coach to get the most out of your virtual training. But first, I wanna explain a little bit more about who Taylor is. Taylor is a fellow YouTuber, but unlike this East Coast girl, she is on the West Coast. I would describe Taylor's channel as like relatable fitness and health content. She does a lot of different fitness challenges, she does days in the life, she documents her cooking while she tries not to burn down her apartment. That last one I can very heavily relate to. So she's a great person to follow if you are into fitness and you want a little bit of entertainment. Now Taylor did make her own video just documenting her side of the training from her viewpoint, her experience, so definitely check that out after you're done watching this video. I will leave it linked in the description box below. So let's jump in first with my top 3 tips for my virtual trainers. Now these tips are virtual tips, but they can totally be applied outside of the Zoom room and in person if you are coaching in person again. Tip number 1, Zoom delay is completely real. So depending on your internet connection, your client's internet connection, lots of different factors, there could be a pretty significant delay on Zoom. So I have found that this is really important to take note of as you're counting people down or counting reps. So if you're saying 1 rep left, your client may actually already have done that rep, or they might be ahead of you or behind. So just keeping that in mind and being really crystal clear with your cueing. I have found that what's really helpful is doing signals with my hands, counting up or counting down. Also super helpful for me because me and my clients get very chatty, and so our mouths are already being used to have a conversation. So I'm just kind of counting down on the side as we're talking about what we did that weekend. Tip number 2 is to have a backup plan. Now this is a good tip whether you are virtually coaching or coaching in person, but you have to be ready for anything. Now the reason why I find that this is so much more important to remember if you're coaching virtually, because if you're in a gym and something goes wrong or your plans change, you have all of the equipment in the world to choose from. But when you're on Zoom, it's whatever your client has around them. So you have to be a lot more prepared to make sure that you are ready for anything. But especially with a new client, because you are kind of still feeling things out, learning from them as they're learning from you and figuring out what suits them best, you just have to have a lot of options ready. Tip number 3 is, in my opinion, the most important. You need to give the client a chance. So my rule of thumb, again, whether it's on Zoom or whether it's in person, I always let a client do 2 reps of something before I give a correction. So there's kind of 2 sides to this. Number 1, a lot of the times after 2 reps, the client figures out and self-corrects themselves. I just find that if you are constantly correcting people right off the bat, it's gonna shoot their confidence so low. You need to let people do things for themselves. And I think this is such an important thing to remember as a coach or as a trainer, whatever you call yourself. We're not there to hold people's hands the whole time. We're there to give them the tools so that they can eventually do things by themselves. That's my opinion, that's my training style, but I do just think, let them figure it out. Give them a chance to succeed before you swoop on in and start correcting everything. So, yeah. That's it. And now we have the tips for the client. So number 1, make sure we can see you. I know that sounds so silly, but you'd be surprised. So first thing you want to consider is having front light. If the light is shining behind you, so let's say you're standing in front of some really bright windows, we're not going to be able to see anything except for what looks like Peter Pan's shadow. So just make sure that you have some kind of light facing you rather than behind you, and then do your best to get your whole body in the frame. Obviously, that's a luxury, especially a lot of my clients are in New York City. We don't always have kind of that depth to be able to see everything. So your coach will help you if it's an upper body exercise, tilting your camera up, lower body, tilting your camera down. So just be really flexible with that. But ideally, we do want to be able to see everything from head to toe. And then kind of going along with that, just be flexible, ready to face different directions. As trainers, we're looking for key checkpoints, not only facing the front, but also facing the side. So just be ready to kind of spin around. And something that Taylor actually did all the time that I loved, because she's very smart and always thinking ahead, she would ask me sometimes, do you want me to face the side? Do you want me to face the front? So talking to your coach, knowing that it's not just them telling you what to do, it's a collaborative experience. So don't be afraid to speak up and ask questions. Number 2, I recommend getting some wireless headphones. So I don't require this of any of my clients. A lot of them don't do it. Sometimes people do it sometimes. I think this is great for a few reasons. Number one, you're not gonna disturb the people around you if you have like a loved one or another family member or someone working from home as well. Number two, I just find that it cuts down on the communication like barrier. Just having somebody right here in your ear rather than all the way over there on your laptop I just find that there's more success. And number three, this is so stupid, but if you have headphones in, I can play music a little bit easier. Whereas like if I'm the only one with headphones in, because I always teach with headphones, if I'm the only one with them in, but then I'm sharing my music, I have to turn it up really loud for you to be able to hear it. And then like I can't really hear you because then you're not mic'd. So if we're both mic'd, then we can both hear it and then we can like jam out. That's a small thing, but I think that having music is really important. Ooh, and then one other thing, since we're on audio, B-roll Justina is gonna put this in because I actually don't have it in front of me and I would have to like see it in Zoom. But if you're meeting people on Zoom, this is for trainers too, you wanna optimize your sound preferences. So take it away later, Justina. And then number three, just take your time. Having someone watch you move your body on Zoom is really freaking awkward. I'm totally understanding that it's weird. So a lot of times as we get flustered, we want to just kind of like fly through things, move as fast as possible. But remember that your coach is looking for specific checkpoints. So take your time in exercises, take your time getting into them, be ready for your coach to ask you to hold, stop in a movement so they can see what's going on, especially again, if you're a newer client to them, they need to figure out how your body moves. One of the big things that we kind of focused on with Taylor was improving her squat. She had this interesting habit of squatting down and then tucking her tailbone right before she would come back up. So I asked her a lot of times, like, all right, go down halfway, hold, come back up slow, go all the way down, hold, come back up slow, just trying to kind of rewire that movement pattern so that she doesn't injure her low back. And also just keep in mind that some small part of your coach is just as nervous as you are. So we're all in this together. So to wrap this bad boy up, let me just end this video with saying that it truly was a pleasure to train Taylor for that month. If you're one of her subscribers or you've seen any of her videos before and you're wondering if she is that authentically lovely, she is. I know that she's already like very interested in fitness and possibly pursuing being a trainer herself, but it really was just lovely to have somebody who was interested in the field, ready to ask questions, and really just wanted to know the why behind programming and the exercises and movements that we were doing. Now, if you made it this far and you are ready for your free class, you are gonna use the code YouTube to get into your first class free. The link to work with me is down in the description box below. I also offer personal training and nutrition coaching, and I have an on-demand platform, so just take a look at those if you are interested in learning. But otherwise, I will see you in the next one.